more races as a result of Tuesday. And welcome if you're just joining us. The time in the city is now 1:13. I am your hostess with the most, Suzette Speaks, alongside my amazing intern. This is her last day, y'all. My heart will go.
We're shedding tears right now, guys.
For real. We appreciate y'all listening. Thank you so much for keeping it locked here. We are going to go rapid fire through quite a few news stories. I got news for you out of Palm Beach County. You do not want to miss. Palm Beach's clerk of the court has just been arrested and charged with some heinous accusations. And again, this is a gentleman who was appointed by Ron DeSantis. Again, he was selected for office in Palm Beach, and he has this terrible cloud hanging over him. And oftentimes, like I told you, here at Voice of the Caribbean, we are going to bring you stories that are a little bit more uncomfortable, but what the mainstream media won't talk about, we will talk about here. So it's really important that you keep it locked. I'm going to have that update for you. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit more about elections. Elections matter. And there was a big election, obviously, here in Florida on Tuesday. So we want to talk a little bit more about who won, who lost. What are some of the more interesting outcomes from Tuesday's elections? Let's see.
Yes. First of all, starting with polling facts, the ballots casted were more than half Republican. So it is a clear demonstration that we Democrats need to be outside. We need to be voting, especially with midterms coming up in November. There's so much at stake. And looking at these facts, looking at these polls, looking at these numbers, we need to be going outside and fighting for our democracy, fighting for the things that matter for us. And, be that clear, have that clear indication of, hey, we want change, and the change is going to be made at the polling stations. So that's the first.
So it's important, first and foremost, to be registered. If you're not registered, make sure you register to vote. And we can do that now to be ready for the November 3rd election. Like I said, it's about 75 days and counting before we get there. So this is a time to take action. If you missed the primary and you missed that action, don't worry. We still need you. Right. So we want you to please get registered first and foremost. Right. This is your vote, your voice. On that note, if you have not signed up for vote by mail, it's also very important that you do that. Right. If you already did it for the primary, likely is you check the box and you already have it for the general election November 3rd. But if you didn't vote in the primary, you still have time to order your vote by mail. Vote by mail ballot must be ordered at least 2 weeks prior to the November election. So now it's nice and early. If you didn't participate, make sure you participate now. This is the time. If you are a person that is sometimes forgetful, gets very busy, has a lot of responsibility, we get it. People are holding down 2 and 3 jobs, their families, everything that has become so stressful, the economy. We might actually have to mention the national debt. We might actually have to mention that because it's something that Lexi brought to my attention, and I've been seeing some stories about that. And the United States debt is higher than we can even imagine. Right now, we have borrowed our way into a big hole. That's the U.S. government we're talking about. And we don't really understand the implications, or what does it mean when the United States government keeps borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, and we're in this bigger and bigger hole.
$40 trillion.
I don't even know how many zeros that is.
Yes.
$40 trillion in the hole, right? In IOUs. The government has basically now put itself on the hook to pay back, right? And that is not just the generation that is older now. That is now putting the generations well beyond the boomer generation, millennial, and go right down to alpha, right? It's going to affect all of us in terms of what the United States and our social programs look like, right? Because we owe a lot of money right now. And I don't want that to go under the radar, because when it's time for Democrats to get in office, you hear people talk about the debt. But all of a sudden, just my opinion, and again, the opinions expressed here on the Suzette Speak Show are that of me, the hostess, our guest, Miss Lexi, and anybody who wants to call and let me know how they feel. I welcome contrasting points of view. 850-446-0562. Here we go again. 850-446-0562. It's all welcome here, but I'm just saying, in my opinion, when I look around and people talk about the numbers in the economy, what is so weird is that no one is reporting that we seem to be in a recession or a depression. A lot of people are suffering and feeling the pinch of this economy. A lot of people can't find jobs. A lot of people are unemployed, underemployed. And I see videos all the time when it comes to what's going on in the social media streets, what we talk about here on Suzette Speaks, is that people are complaining and saying that their dollar is not going as far as it used to. Shrinkflation, Anybody here can testify? Yeah, can you testify if you're in your car? Wave your hand if you can testify. Because you're looking at your gas price, you're looking at your grocery bill. I know I think twice before I buy anything right now. I have limited my leisure activities even. I'm looking for the free party.
Yeah, no more Super Boils, no more listen.
The economy. But what's weird is the mainstream media is not talking about it. They're saying that according to I don't know, indicators is that, the economy is strong. Your stock market is strong, but still the average American is not feeling that way. Hence what we saw in these elections. So if we're talking about Angie Nixon, it's your opportunity now to go and look her up. Go see what she stands for. See if you are in agreement with her platform or not. And even on the Republican side, when it comes to, for example, the two governors, I would love for both of them to come on the Suzette Speak Show. The Democratic nominee, Mr. David Jolly. David Jolly was a former Republican up until 2018. He said he parted ways because of Trump. And now he's a Democrat and he won the nomination. He'll be running in November and you'll have a chance to vote for him. And on the other side, Lexi, tell us about Byron Donalds. He actually is a Black person of Caribbean heritage.
Running as the first Black governor in the state of Florida and endorsed by Trump.
Let's go. So that, you have a choice to make. You guys say your choices don't matter. There's no choice. There's actually quite a choice. And Mr. Byron Donalds has an interesting past as well. You want to talk a little bit more about the elections and tell us what else you found interesting with the results or other races that people need to pay attention to?
Yes. Byron Donalds' races specifically was heavily influenced by Trump. He easily won against, his GOP governor race within the Republican Party. So that was one clear indicator of the influence of the Republican Party, specifically in Florida. But aside from that win for governor and Senate with Angie Nixon, we also have to look at the congressional districts also. We had last show Congressional District 20 candidates, both from the Republican and Democratic side, sharing their stances and their, kind of what kind of platform they were running on. And, the results are in, the dust has settled, and our very own Debbie Wiseman Schultz. She is who won the election.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz?
Wasserman, yes. No problem. My apologies. Wasserman Schultz. She was actually out district, I believe. So changes in the district lining and, kind of how lines were drawn kind of pushed her out of her past district. And she decided to run for a new one. One very unique thing about her platform is the fact that she is the first of, I think, many years we had minorities hold the position of District 20 congressional seat, and she is the first in many years of, a non-minority to hold this seat. So that's
and I'll just make one quick correction that Debbie Wasserman Schultz chose not to run in her old district.
Wow.
She had every right to run in the redistricted older district that she was serving in, but she chose not to challenge Jared Moskowitz and instead come into District 20. That's the big controversy. So everybody who's been upset at looking at who won in CD20, Congressional District 20, which is Central Broward County, is it's kind of late. I've had several conversations where people are like, why did Debbie run? I'm like, guys, it's before the election that you get involved with the candidate you believe in. So the big controversy is that seat had been represented by Black leadership for over 30 years.
Yes.
And this is the first time that a majority Black congressional seat that was designed for Black access from the Voting Rights Act. That's why it was created in 1992 when Alcee Hastings first was elected in that seat. It was a Black access seat by design because Black people's voices and influence and power was diluted on purpose.
Wow.
So here we are, and people have various opinions about it. I know how I feel. I was strongly surprised that she chose to run in the predominant.
Living in
yes, she also didn't have to run. That was the big controversy. People were upset that she chose to leave her current district. It was redrawn, but she had good numbers in that district, but she didn't want to challenge the opponent in that district. She came in a predominantly majority Black district and unseated what many people feel was an access point, and that was the big controversy. Uncle Luke and Dale Holness and many tried to inform the public about that. Like, does it matter if you have a majority minority district who represents you? I would argue yes, it does. Experience is very different. But Miss Blossman Schultz had a track record, right? People knew her name. People knew her name. She had a lot of name recognition.
Wow.
Some would say, she's, quote, worked hard for the district. I don't, I think it would depend on who you are, maybe the type of organization you have or business that you have, and whether she actually made an impact over the last 20 years. But she will become the senior House representative leader on the Foreign Affairs Committee.
Wow.
And as a woman who was taking a lot of money from AIPAC, which is, everybody will talk about AIPAC, and that is a supporter of Israel, an actual, I think it's called a 501. There's a specific, let me make sure I'll read it directly. The American Israel Political Affairs Committee. Once again, AIPAC is American Israel Political Affairs Committee, is a major American lobbying organization that advocates for pro-Israel policies and a strong U.S.-Israel relationship, founded in 1954 and headquartered in Washington, D.C. A lot of people have, since this war with Iran has highlighted a lot of what is unstabilizing about the policies of, I wouldn't even say Israel, of the leadership of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu and others.
Yes.
And why is it that there is no diversity of opinion when it comes to how the United States relates to Israel and spends money? There are people that argue, Israel has universal health care. They have universal.
They have all the things that we're funding. Why do we have it here?
Wait. Our money is going where? And then when we hear people talk about Angie Nixon, they're asking, do we have the money to pay for everyone? We don't want socialism. What is Social Security? It was a generation or two before saying, we saw what happened after the stock market crash of 1920s. 1918, I think it actually was. But the downturn that led to World War I. Y'all don't want me to give you the history lesson today, but what is happening has happened again. And so we are trying to understand what it means. Yes, Debbie Wasserman Schultz will represent CD20 in November. So there are many that are arguing, just get behind her. If you are a Democrat, you should be lined up. I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm just saying that is the attitude. So people are saying it's too late. The fight has been fought, and no more leadership from the marginalized communities. It is now Debbie Wasserman Schultz, like it or not, and here we are. So I invite you to look more into that race, but there are some other races that we also saw some interesting results from. What else did you notice, Lexi?
Oh, yes. More congressional district races, specifically in the District 25 with Oliver Larkin and Jared Moskowitz. Yes. Who Wasserman Schultz decided not to, the district she decided not to run in. We saw a win from Moskowitz, which was extremely interesting because we've spoken about it on the show before, the rise of democratic socialists and grassroots Democrats. And specifically in Oliver's case, I saw a lot of support through social media, through his media appearances, calling out Trump on Fox. I was very, surprised by the fact that he did not win in the 25th district.
Well, actually the numbers in this. So let's talk a little bit more about the numbers. The time is now 1:26, y'all. We're talking about the big primary election that was just held in the state of Florida and all of the ramifications, right? The results and what does it mean to you? We're trying to break it down for you. One thing about that district, that's District 25 with Jared Moskowitz, he may lose against the Republican. It is designed to be a favorable district to Republicans. So even though he beat Mr. Oliver Larkin, and Oliver Larkin had again more grassroots and more progressive leaning message. I think, is he a DSA member too?
He is a DSA.
Okay, so he is a DSA member, Democratic Socialists of America. So he wants child care for all. He wants Medicare and Medicaid expansion and things like this, and food programs at schools that are now being cut back to be restored and things like this. You can check out his platform. He unfortunately, in my opinion, lost to Jared because I'm not a very big Jared Moskowitz fan. Hey, okay, he won the race. But as I stated, there is an advantage in why all these districts were redrawn, because that district now favors Republicans. Overall, let me just mention, in the state of Florida, do you know how many registered Democrats there are? Right now, all over the state of Florida, there are about 4 million registered Democrats. But Republicans have an advantage. They are at about 5.5 million. So people say there's a 1 million vote registration advantage. Why? Because there's 3.5 million non-party affiliated.
Wow.
So 3.5 million MPAs. I don't know. They might be tired of everybody.
Yeah.
But they are the swing vote. Some are leaning more conservative towards Republicans. Some are leaning more liberal towards the Democrats. But there's a whole chunk of registered voters in the middle who have chosen not to side with either party. So when we see these numbers, keep in mind, like Lexi said, more Republicans turned out in general in all these races, more Republicans, but the Democratic turnout percentage-wise was very high as well, even though it was 16% of the total. On average, primary elections are not very well, the turnout is not very large in general. So percentage-wise, I was watching a report yesterday. Guys, I hope we're not in the weeds for you, but we're trying to break down what happened. Democrats are more enthusiastic, but again, they have less voters who are registered as Democrat. So the totals among the Democrats going across the board was less. Wanna follow? I hope wanna follow.
Yeah, I'm following.
Well, we're getting ready for our first break. We want to thank again Miss Lexi for giving us some of that. We'll come back on with that and get to the bottom of a couple more races. Again, Miss Angie Nixon is the story. She was groundbreaking with her win against a much more funded and establishment backed and just a person that was expected to win, and she upset the giant, right? Giant slayer, Angie Nixon. And we had her here on the Suzette Speaks show before she won. I just want to make that clear. She was here because I knew she was a voice that mattered. She talked to us directly about redistricting when it was happening. And I'm grateful and I'm hopeful that she'll come back now that she's the Democratic Party nominee. Y'all, we have to take a quick break. We're going to talk about other news, the case updates with Carmelo Anthony and Nolan Wells up next.
The all-new voice of the Caribbean. Better sounding radio.
South Florida, get ready. The voice of the Caribbean 101.5 FM HD2 and 96.9 FM is opening up brand new advertising opportunities serving Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach. We're offering flexible, affordable ad packages designed for local businesses to make big moves. Reach the Caribbean American community with music, news, and culture they trust. Call us at 954-999-0070 or 954-999-0134. And let's put your brand on the airwaves with a voice of the Caribbean.
Reggae Band Sunday at Cocoon Restaurant and Lounge. Reggae Band Sunday. Try one of our delicious Caribbean dishes while sipping on your favorite cocktail and vibe to your favorite reggae hits being performed live by the Progression Band. $5 rum punch, $100 bottle, live DJ. Hosted by Mikey Mike from the Voice of the Caribbean. Free admission from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m.
I feel good.
It's Reggae Band Sunday every Sunday at Cocoon Restaurant and Lounge. Located at 15531 Sheridan Street in Davie, Florida. Get tickets online at cocoontickets.com. That's KEKOON tickets.com.
Judah Tours, Jamaica. From the moment you land in Jamaica until the day you leave, Judah delivers safe, reliable, and affordable transportation for visitors and returning residents alike.
Whether you need airport transfers, cruise ship pickups, hotel transportation, private charters, or exciting island tours, Judah's professional team is ready to get you there comfortably and on time.
Our Judah driver was waiting for us the minute we arrived.
Professional, friendly, safe, and affordable. We use Judah all week.
I've been using Judah for over 30 years every time I travel home from the States, and they've never let me down.
Visit the website, judahkingstonchapter.com. Call via WhatsApp, 876-782-0563. Judah Tours Kingston, Jamaica. Over 50 years of safe, reliable service you can trust.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from Nits in the Ad.
Damien Jr. Gong Marley, Stephen Martin, Burning Spear, Capleton, Sizzla, Beanie Man, Protege, Barrington Levy, and many more are set to perform on the 11th annual Jam Rock Reggae Cruise, setting sail out of Miami, Florida, November 11th through the 16th, aboard the Norwegian Joy with port stops in Falmouth and Ocho Rios, Jamaica. Be a part of the most immersive reggae cruise with 5 days of music, culture, and pure vibe. Secure yours now at Welcome to Jam Rock Reggae Cruise. That's welcome to cruise.com.
The voice Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
Good afternoon and welcome back. It's the Suzette Speak Show. It's now 1:33 in the city. Me and my wonderful intern on her last show are here breaking down all the news and headlines for you. We have a caller who had a strong opinion about something I played yesterday. If you guys are just joining, we've been talking about the elections and what the elections meant. And I played a clip of a guy who yesterday was at the clip was played yesterday on my show. And he was interviewed at Uncle Luke's or Luther Campbell, who ran for CD20. He was at their after party, the election party that is held by each candidate after the polls are closed in order to see what the elections are going to be. This is a little bit about what I played yesterday, and we have a caller on the line who wanted to give us her opinion. I just wanted to give everybody context in case you did not see it yesterday or listen yesterday. This is what this man said when asked why he didn't vote. This is from the Rowan Martin Show.
That it's enough.
So we are taking that clip, and I wanted to get my caller. Caller, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Where are you calling us from? Welcome to the Suzette Speak Show.
Yes, I live in Lauderhill.
Okay, and you heard that clip.
I live in Lauderhill.
Yeah, you
Yes.
were telling me you heard that clip yesterday and it didn't sit well with your spirit, and you wanted to give us your feedback. Let the people know how you feel. Did you vote? First of all, let me ask you, did you vote in the CD20 race?
Listen to me. It didn't sit well with me, number one, because he's not lying. What he's saying, we are not educated about the midterm elections. You see billboards all throughout the city, pick this one, re-elect that one, vote here, but the meat and potatoes as to who these people are, what they represent, we have to go out and educate our community as to, hey, this is how it affects us. Yes, you have the presidential election, but in the midterms, this is what's important. And I'll be honest, I live in a Caribbean home. My parents, I asked my mom, hey, did you see the signs? Did you vote? She didn't vote. Did you know about the candidates? She doesn't know about the candidates. And this is the problem. This is why we only had a 60% turnout. And to be honest, now on social media, people are posting clips. We have people who cannot read. Certain things are, going kiosk form. They want you to fill out your concerns on a kiosk. People don't know how to do that. So we have to go back to the basics and educate people. Hey, you live here. This is your district. This is what has been done so far. These are the candidates that want your vote. Let's learn about them and let's actually vote. You know what I mean?
You say there's an education gap for a lot of people who don't know what's going on, and people have to have the conversations and talk to them one-on-one, ask them if they understand what's going on. So we're assuming then people understand what's going on, and you feel like there's a lot of people that don't know what the election even means.
Exactly. We assume people know what's going on. We assume when we see the billboards, we know about the candidates. We assume someone's going to go to the poll and vote. And guess what? Like you said, the gap. No one knows anything. And then we complain after the fact. Like you said, it's too late to throw your ballot in. It's too late to get behind someone because the vote is already made.
Right.
So, we need to go back to the basics, dumb it down, and put it out there. Say, hey, you live in this area. This is your district. This is who represents you right now. This is what they've done so far. Do you think anything can change? What would you like to see change?
Right.
And, maybe look out for a candidate or support a candidate that's more in the ballpark of what you want.
So you think these conversations would be open, people would be open to talking to people like where? At the supermarket, at church? Like where would this take place, or neighbor to neighbor, knock on your door? What do you think?
I'm very reluctant to stop for someone who's trying to grab my attention. Sometimes they want you to sign a petition, or sometimes they want to offer you a sale. I'm very reluctant to stop because you just don't know people, and it's a little weird with the strangers.
Right.
So I really don't know where to start, but I feel like we need to go, maybe back into the school system, right?
Okay.
Supposedly we did American history. We learned about, we had civics, but it wasn't heavy, laid down heavy for us. You know what I mean?
So civic education, back to basics in the school. What does your vote mean? Yeah. Who are you voting for? When does the vote happen? What does each year's race mean? You think we need more of that civic education, and why the voter is the heart of the system. Without your vote, we don't have a voice. So you think it's an education gap, and you should sound like you're saying you have a lot of sympathy for this gentleman, and it really shouldn't be anybody making fun of anybody or chastising or ridiculing him online, because this guy is getting the treatment almost like what's his name, Chef Creole. It's coming like this man is becoming a poster child for the non-voter, and he's getting a lot of feedback, and a lot of it is negative because he spoke his mind, and I applaud him for even sitting down, but I didn't think he probably anticipated it going so viral where people are now, why is people not, how could they not know? How could they not know? So you're saying don't blame the non-voter. There's a lot of people who just don't understand the process, don't understand the system, and we need to find a way to reach them and educate them is your main point, I'm gathering.
Absolutely. And again, it goes both ways. We, as whether it's the consumer or we want to buy something, we go out and we look at the reviews and we educate ourselves on the product, and then we make the choice. So we have to go out and get the information as well. But, the information has to be there in a way in which, dumb it down. Don't assume we know.
Understand. Yeah, we appreciate you. Voice. This is the voice. Hello of the Caribbean. So we welcome our callers to call in and let us know how you're feeling. Thank you from Lauderhill. We appreciate your insights, and thank you for listening to the Suzette Speak Show. Have a great day.
All right,
yeah, man. Thank you so much this is for the people. We do it for the people, and that's why we're spending the time to talk about the election. Yes, it happened on Tuesday, but like I said, the rest of the country, if you go on YouTube and you look up Angie Nixon, the amount of different YouTube videos, the amount of social media posts about her, it has gone viral. A woman who was not expected to win, right? No national support, out fundraised 20-1. She only spent $60,000. That sounds like a lot of money, but it's pennies on television ad because she didn't have it. Well, Alex Vindman, the Democratic, I would say the firebrand, or the person who was their standard bearer, who they wanted to win, had all the money and all the support and the national backing, and she did the unimaginable and won on the left, meaning she is more socially liberal than where he stands. She wants Medicare for all. She wants child care for all. She wants a $25 minimum wage. This is Angie Nixon I'm talking about, who's running for United States Senate. So we're going to wrap up the conversation talking about elections. We got to get to the next topic, but thank you again to the caller. Lexi, you have any final thoughts?
Yes, thank you so much for calling in and expressing that, there is a clear educational gap. I know as someone who's worked in canvassing, phone banking, on campaigns this whole summer, that there is a clear gap. I was walking up to people's doors and they were like, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote. I'm like, you're picking which Democrat. But yeah, it's a clear educational gap. And I hope that, somewhere along the educational system, we're able to, implement more. This is what you're voting for. This is your civic duty. This is what you're doing. So people know.
Education is something that, again, we cannot take for granted. We smile, we chuckle, but we understand how serious it is, y'all. Yeah, and so if you're listening and you are educated, it's okay for you to reach out to your circle of influence, your friends, your family, your neighbors, your kids, whoever you have in your circle that you know when, little cousin or mommy and daddy or whoever is struggling to understand, you have to bring them. You have to bring them. When we say bring 5 to the polls, bring 10 to the polls, that's what we need.
Bring them all.
Exactly. You understand that there are folks who are less up to speed with who is running, why we're placing, so much importance on the race. Again, thanks to our caller for calling in case you are like her and you saw it yourself, like, whoa, my people didn't vote. We have a chance to correct that in November. So whether you're voting Democrat, whether you're voting Republican, whoever you're voting for, it's important that we exercise our duty. That's what we call our civic duty to society, to make sure we're not just letting anybody into the office. We're trying to make people with similar life experience, similar thinking, similar principles into these offices so they can go there and fight for us. All right, we're going to leave that alone. I'm going to switch and let's get on our legal hats. You guys, I want to talk to you about the man who was arrested in Palm Beach. This is a public official. And he served as clerk of the courts in Palm Beach, but he has now been charged for abusing a child. This was a Ron DeSantis appointee. I'm asking, where was the vetting? I feel like this story is going under the radar. That's why I'm bringing it up right here on the Suzette Speak Show. Obviously, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. All the charge and allegations are alleged, and we saw him having an arraignment. But I'm going to get to the Palm Beach County official that, again, we're going to make headlines based on the top type of charges being levied against the now former, because Ron DeSantis has decided to suspend him, Palm Beach clerk of courts. But before we get to that, let's move into another legal direction. We want to talk a little bit about the two cases of young black men that made waves already throughout this year. We're going to start with the case of Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony was a young man who received, I believe it was a 35-year prison sentence, running a track and a superstar athlete at a track meet out in Texas. I don't know if you recall these facts. He was out in Texas at a track meet, high schooler, and he went under a tent, challenged a young man who happened to be white, and ended up stabbing him. The young man lost his life, and he was tried and convicted. But now we know that there is a new legal team that are trying to fight for a retrial. I'm going to ask Lexi, give us the latest on the Carmelo Anthony case.
Yes. Suzette gave you wonderful background, but the Carmelo Anthony case is moving into another chapter as a judge who presided over his case has been removed from further processing while the rest of his legal team is pursuing a new trial. Anthony was convicted of a fatal stabbing of, like Suzette mentioned, the 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Texas track meet. And now his attorneys are challenging his ruling from the courtroom and, sending it back in. Let's do this again. Let's look over these cases again. And yes, that's kind of where this case is standing currently. They just removed his, former attorney, and they're looking to, establish a new team.
Yeah, this was a tough one. Again, I'm a young man who's so young, and it was a case that maintained a very high profile because of the family hiring civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump comes in, and of course you get the news and the cameras, but there are human beings behind this, because you imagine your teenage son being sentenced to 35 years in jail. It's not a game. That's a young person's life cut short. Of course, there was the victim in this case, Austin Metcalf, also lost his life. So I'm like, all the families lost in this particular scenario. What I read also was that in this change of attorney, his family hired a new attorney. They're asking for a retrial as well, because they felt that there was evidence that was not allowed into the case that should have been. And again, there was some sort of gentleman's agreement between the attorney for Carmelo Anthony and the prosecutors, where I'm putting the legal terms out there, exculpatory, there we go. But it just means evidence that could be either freeing, or there's evidence that could be more damaging to either party. There was a handshake between the prosecutor and Carmelo Anthony's attorney to not let this evidence in. I was looking for the clip to play you some of the audio. And basically, there's some evidence that relates to the victim, Austin Metcalf, that he had a strange past when it comes to his temperament and possibly his racial views. And again, we can't sit here and say that he said and what he exactly said, but it's being alleged that there was evidence of a pattern with Mr. Metcalf of being, not necessarily, the goody two-shoe, all innocent person. Now, again, he's a victim and he's not here. His life was taken and there's no justification for it. Please let me be clear. But there's things about his personality that and evidence that he had certain views that wasn't raised because of this handshake.
Yeah.
Same thing with Carmelo Anthony, however. There was evidence about him allegedly, possibly having an obsession with knives. I don't know that that is true, but I read that there was evidence that the prosecution wanted to bring in about him and saying that he had some sort of alleged possible stalking of a past girlfriend. Not saying, again, evidentiary. I need to see the evidence myself. I'm going by reports.
Text messages, something.
So there's now, like, on both sides claiming that, or his defense team, his new defense team, Carmelo Anthony's new defense team in the case we're talking about for the Texas teenager who was convicted for stabbing his opponent at a track meet. And of course, his opponent, as we're saying, lost his life and he was teenager sentenced 35 years in jail. So we're looking out for some of the details. I'm just telling you what has been discussed. All parties, again, one has been convicted, but new evidence and that is questionable. We're not saying it is facts. It is alleged, of course. It has to be proven in the court of law. But his attorney new attorney team is pushing and saying, this is not it. We're going to see what wasn't allowed in, should it have been allowed in. There's also an argument, I think, that I read about him not being present for certain pretrial hearings, or saying that his his due process rights, his constitutional rights, basically, were violated, where he wasn't present at certain negotiations and hearings between the prosecution and his defense team at the time. This is why attorneys matter. Attorneys matter. I felt like this family, in my opinion, kind of got played with the type of attorney they got. I don't know if it worked in their favor in this case.
No.
So it is a lot now. Everybody's hindsight is 2020, but again, two families are suffering due to Mr. Carmelo Anthony's reaction to whatever behavior. Not saying it was justified at all, but we're going to keep on top of that story. Are we ready to talk about Nolan Wells?
Yes.
What's the latest with Nolan Wells? Another national headline.
Yes. So the latest on Nolan Wells, it was recently his birthday on the 19th, and the Wells families and supporters continue to seek justice and answers surrounding the Black teenager's death in Mississippi, turning what could have been a celebration into another day of mourning. Extremely sad.
So just this week, Nolan Wells, what number birthday would this have been? I think this might have been his 20th.
I believe it was the 19th.
19th birthday. Still a teenager. That's right. 19th birthday. And he unfortunately didn't get to celebrate it because Nolan Wells, again, if you're not keeping up, that's okay. We know everybody's busy, but if you have been, this is the national news story that still has gripped our media and our nation, and people are still trying to get to the answers as to what happened to Mr. Nolan Wells. This is a teenager, went boating on July 4th weekend and went out with some friends. I put that in quotation marks, who people don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. We don't know if there's innocence or guilt or any type of mischievous behavior, accidental behavior, or culpable, right? Something that was done wrong on purpose, culpability. We don't know, right? If there was a law broken or criminal acts took place, we don't know. But Mr. Nolan Wells' family had messages back and forth from the teenage group of friends, and he was found deceased 2 days later on the beach in Horn Island, off the coast. And it has been troubling my heart. Sometimes, Lexi, I can watch it. Sometimes I can't watch it because the news is so depressing. And I saw the clip of his mother, Christine Wells, and she remarried, named Wansley, Christine Wells Wansley, and she's singing happy birthday to a cake for a young man that's no longer here. The husband during the birthday celebration, because they did televise it, and there are clips on YouTube, you can check it out. The husband, his stepfather, looked like, oh my gosh, he was trying to hold it together. Like, that's what I saw in the happy birthday singing. So trying to be joyous, but of course they want to know what happened to their son. So Nolan Wells' birthday was this week, y'all, and again, we're going to keep on top of the story right here on the Suzette Speak Show, right on Voice of the Caribbean. I do want to pivot to thoughts about that case. Let's see.
In regards to the case, I mean, like you had mentioned before, the entire situation is extremely, extremely devastating. devastating. And there have been interviews coming out with the alleged quote unquote friends that were with him on this boat, constantly doing media appearances and interviews. And I don't know, there's like a lack of remorse there, in my opinion, from my view. And it's been extremely unfortunate to see. I mean, seeing his parents sing in front of a cake, that he was supposed to be in front of. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I think, again, you can give interviews about interviews. You've lawyered up. This is the friends I'm speaking of. And again, everyone is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law in our system. Yeah. But why we got so much smoke for, all interviews except for the interview saying what happened? What about that? And I know the family has also, according to Fox 5 Atlanta, they have called for a federal investigation. A Metro Atlanta pastor will now join the nationwide church community, including leaders in Biloxi, Mississippi, to mark what would have been, and this occurred Wednesday, Nolan Will's 19th birthday. They had prayers. It was a rally and a call for justice. Again, we saw this Wednesday. And pastors from all around have joined the family of Nolan Wills to call for, a federal probe. If the local officials can't handle it, why not have the federal government involved and making sure that every stone is unturned or overturned so that we can see what's at the bottom of it, what happened to this child. If it was your son, if it was your brother, your cousin, whoever, you would want to know. So again, we don't know that there is any act of malice or anything criminal that actually took place. It could have been accidental, but we don't know yet, and it's unfair and it's heartbreaking to the family to see what happened. Once again, Nolan Wells died 4th of July weekend on a holiday trip near Mississippi's Horn Island. Search teams found the teen's body face down in water along the shoreline July 6th last week. Wells' parents spoke publicly about their loss at the National Association of Black Journalists Conference in Atlanta. This is why the story is also being reported heavily there. Family members and their attorneys, civil rights advocates, and others are raising questions about the autopsy, local legal proceedings, and the official response to the tragedy. This has been, 45 days ago? 45 days out. No arrests, no announcements of a person of interest, right? Still a lot of questions about the other people on the boat. Where were they? How did they handle? And why would you leave your friend? I'm sorry. This is why would you leave your friend out there and come back? Oh, he was with a girl. The girl said nope. There's a lot of conflicting evidence that is emerging. So the investigation hopefully continues. The family and their legal representatives are demanding a full, transparent federal investigation, again, taking it out of the hands or adding to the local investigation, putting it in the hands of the feds, the federal government, the United States government, to investigate the circumstances surrounding this death. So once again, our hearts and minds are with the family of Nolan Wells. I want to pivot to Palm Beach County. I want to caution you because the story I want to share is very sensitive for our listeners. All right. Listener discretion is advised. I want to talk about what's happening to the suspended Palm Beach County clerk of the court and comptroller. Mike Caruso is his name. Mike Caruso. Again, you may not see it as boldly on mainstream media, but we here at Voice of the Caribbean, we are serving our community boldly. Again, all parties are innocent until proven guilty. But if you missed this, you got to hear what happened. Suspended Palm Beach County. This is according to WPBF. This is the outlet up there in Palm Beach. News outlet, television news outlet. Suspended Palm Beach County clerk of the court and comptroller Mike Caruso remained in jail without bond as of yesterday, Thursday, after appearing before a judge. Now he's been transferred to Orange County on charges accusing him of sexually abusing a young family member. This is a person that was put in the public trust, appointed by Ron DeSantis. Now, I don't know what kind of vetting takes place for people to be appointed. People have shown online pictures with Mike Caruso, the disgraced Palm Beach County clerk of the court, with Trump, with DeSantis, with these other people. Not saying that they're necessarily implicated on what he's being charged with. All allegations are just those. And until there is proof of guilt, people are presumed innocent in our system. But according to WFBP 25 News, their investigation team reviewed court records and has uncovered, this is in Palm Beach, y'all, another allegation involving Caruso and a child dating back more than a decade before Governor Ron DeSantis appointed him to one of Palm Beach County's highest ranking elected offices. We're going to talk about it. It's uncomfortable, but we got to put these people on blast, y'all. It's disgusting what is being alleged here. Again, everyone in our courts and according to the law is presumed innocent. And all these are allegations. We can only say they're allegations at this point. But allegedly, according to WPBF 25 News investigates, a review of court documents had uncovered. Now, if the news can find this, how come DeSantis' vetting team couldn't find it? This is what I want to ask. Anyway, they uncovered another allegation involving Mike Caruso, the disgraced Palm Beach clerk of the court, and a child dating back more than a decade before Governor Ron DeSantis appointed him to one of the Palm Beach County's highest ranking elected offices. Caruso denied that earlier allegation and accused his former wife of orchestrating a false sexual abuse case against him. My. Caruso appeared by video for his first appearance after being transferred to a jail from Palm Beach County to Orange County. Whew. Caruso faces, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. Lexi's going to jump in. We're going to take a break here shortly. Again, this next story is a little bit sensitive. So if you have kids in the car, or if you're driving, or if you are sensitive to sexual abuse type stories, we're going to give you a moment here as we take a break. We're going to stay for a little extended Suzette Speaks show. Thank you to Miss Lisa B. We're going to continue the conversation. We also want to talk about this story that happened in England. The Cambridge professor, Jason R. Day, the man who took his life. We're not going to let these just slip under the radar, right? People just move on right now. News moves so fast. What happened to him? Oh, hey, man took his own life. We're going to talk about it because, okay, we just move on to the next thing. Life is busy. We understand. But no, we're going to spend a little time talking about the tragedy of the bullying of former Cambridge professor Jason R. Day. Y'all keep it locked right here on the Suzette Speaks show. More after this.
Miami, 101.5 HD2. This is the all-new voice of the Caribbean. Better sounding radio.
WLYF, 101.5 FM, HD2 Miami. Simulcasting on 96.9 FM. The voice of the Caribbean.
Jano Star! Want your Charles? Yo, it come in like me fall and drop, brother. No street light, no hotel, no kind of light.